It's Fang Pipsqueak Reads, and I have another review. So as I don't know if I mentioned it or not, but I've been going on a little bit of a short story collection binge because due to my busy schedule, I come home really late, and then I have to, prepare dinner and try to get a little bit of easy time for myself, which kind of ends up just me zombing out on the couch. So I've been trying to go on read these short stories because they're nice enough and short enough for me to grab read a couple of them and then maybe finish a collection if I can. And last week I managed to finish Zoo of the Dead and Other Horrific Tales by Iseult Murphy. Unfortunately, I don't have an actual physical copy of it. I only have it through my ancient Kindle. Yep, this is second generation, y'all. Really old. Doesn't even get the covers or anything, which is awful, but well, what are you gonna do? It still works, and I'm gonna use it until it breaks. But yeah, it's a short. It's a kind of a short and nice short story collection. It has about 106 pages, and it has a couple of stories, including like a drabble and I think a flash fiction. And I enjoyed it for the most part. It was a quick read, and Iseult's writing is really easy flowing. It has great dialogue, and I really appreciate how she writes action. Especially, you can see that in the first story that appears in the collection, which is called Zoo of the Dead, which is a kind of a twist on the zombies, but twists it around and combines it with a werewolf story, which is really interesting. And so you can see the action in that, and also in another story that's called Who's for Dinner. So I'll basically just list down the stories that I liked personally. There were some that were okay, but didn't really grab me as much as these that I've listed down did. So the first one was Who's for Dinner, and it's this kind of classic tale of when you're meeting the in-laws for the first time. You're going over for dinner, you have no idea what to expect, and this happens to Lucy. She's being introduced to Philip's mother, who lives in this really dilapidated brown house. I think it's New York, I'm not really sure, but brown houses are pretty common there. Or brownstones, I think it's called brownstones. Brown houses, God. Me being Icelandic. So she goes there and she's being, really nervous about meeting her. She's afraid that, she won't go up to the mother's expectations and stuff like that, and which is pretty understandable. Then they meet, and it is this really old lady, kind of like withered, seems to be, more interested in her. But then you kind of see this weird relationship between the mother and the son, and you immediately start to think like, what's up, you guys? This doesn't look healthy. So I'm not gonna spoil the story, but the twist was pretty cool. There were like two twists in this story, which was actually kind of nice. I kind of had an inkling about both of them, but it was still enjoyable to read nonetheless. And she managed to write the dialogue as well as the actions pretty well in that story, and I really enjoyed that one. And then we have Dead Jimmy and the Selkie. It's the last story of the short story collection, and I thought it was hilarious. It's basically Dead Jimmy is a zombie detective. I love that premise, and I do need to find more stories with that because it sounds hilarious, and it's even more hilarious because Dead Jimmy is kind of like that. I mean, he doesn't have any coherent dialogue. He just grunts like food, pelt, and he's trying to find the seal skin that someone stole from the Selkie, and it's a short one, you know. But it's hilarious, especially how, you know, there's this human boy, like he's the I think the dead Jimmy's nephew or something like that, and you know he's really unfazed by everything. He's like, yeah, I take care of him. I mean, what are you gonna do? And then, and then he's a Selkie, and she just, you know, she greets him like completely naked, and he's like, all right, yep, just another day at the office. He's just really chalant about it. Nonchalant, yeah, probably nonchalant. Um, but yeah, it was kind of funny, and the ending was also really enjoyable. You know, him being a zombie, he just does what his nature does. So it was pretty cool. Um, there were two other stories that I liked, but they contain triggers for me. So I am kind of a little bit disappointed that they didn't have a little bit of a content warning. Um, for those two stories. One of them includes an animal death. It's in a story called Felis Demonicus. I mean, you can kind of decipher from the title itself that it has something to do with animals. You know, Felis is a feline. So cats, which I can't I can't deal with cat deaths. It's too close to home. It's just especially since I have two cats. However, the story was interesting enough that it kind of has to do with grief and how, and also how this kind of maliciousness that follows when in regards to, like, you know, in-laws or just having like a very bad family kind of intertwines into that. It was like, this follows the story of a woman who just lost her husband. She's still kind of grieving about it. She has two children, two teenager children, and her father-in-law lives downstairs in the basement. And the father-in-law is just being a really big piece of shit. You know, ungrateful, complains about everything, complains that she's not giving him as much attention, than she gives the family dog, more attention, and stuff like that. And then he passes away, but it was not before he kind of like threatened to kill the dog before he would leave this earth or something like that. And then when they go to the funeral and they go back and she's greeted by a dog, she comes up, she, you know, sees this huge, I think it was black cat, like really big, bigger than the dog itself. And the cat, you know, attacks the dog, just brutally attacks it, and then starts eating it like a snake, basically. That's how I gathered from from Iseult's descriptions, and you know, just right before the woman's eyes, and just seeing her cry about it, it broke my heart, because this is one of my worst nightmares. I can't, I wouldn't be able to handle something like that, and I really really felt her grief, and just her helplessness of not being able to do anything about it. And she mentioned, Iseult mentioned in like the author's note after the story that um, this story wasn't chosen for, you know, for the cruelty of the animals or something like that. And she was complaining a little bit about, you know, we shouldn't that no one should be able to, everyone should be able to write everything in horror, and I agree with that. But I still, this is just my opinion, of course. This is just completely my opinion. I'm not at all trashing Iseult's story or anything like that. Like I said, I actually liked it because of the grief and everything, and how she well managed to portray that. But I would have liked a content warning, just, you know, just to make me a little bit more prepared for what I'm about to get into. I mean, it's just a common courtesy, and some people may not, you know, agree with me on that, but and that's okay. I mean, some people don't like content warnings, and Some people do. I include them in my stories. So it's just, some people have traumas, and it's just not good to, shove them into their faces again. So, yeah, moving on. The other story uh, also had a trigger and will trigger, I think it will trigger a lot of people, because that was descriptive. That was painful to read. It deals with suicide. And the story is called Checking Out. And it's about this woman who has this terminal cancer, I think. And she decides to end her life in a hotel, like in the most. I can't really say that. It just doesn't sound good. She decides to do it like, wearing a lingerie, like the best lingerie, um, getting a champagne, and just taking a lot of sleeping pills. And since she waits for the stuff to happen, but nothing happens, she kind of she sleeps through all of it, even though she finished like a whole bottle of sleeping pills. So she tries other methods. I'm not gonna describe them, because it kind of made me really uncomfortable when I was reading it, because suicide is a really, really touchy subject. And the way she wrote it, it was just, it went through a lot of details, and it made me ache in the heart. Just made me feel a little bit bad. But I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm saying, that's why I put it in one of my favorite stories in her collection. It's just, yeah, it was a lot. And then we discovered that this hotel has kind of like a death proof filter or something like that in the hotels. You like, if you want to kill yourself in the hotel, you would have to let them know at the check-in, or at the reception. And when they ask her, like, do you want me to take the death proof off, and she, at the end, after trying so hard, she decided, no, I'm gonna live, which is nice. I love that. I actually like the part that it had a glimmer of hope in it. Despite these really hard subject, in the end, it contained, a glimmer of hope that she wanted to move on, which was nice. So, yeah. And I appreciate that she wrote that this is actually something that is deep and is part of what she has gone through, Iseult. So my heart goes to her. Hope she's fine. But yeah, these are the four stories that I actually liked the best. There are, of course, the other ones were enjoyable. Not like, but not like in my kind of vein, in which I wanted a little bit of, I'm more about this kind of gore or twists or anything like that. But doesn't matter to me. What matters, of course, is that I enjoyed them. And I managed to read them pretty quickly, which is actually really nice, because I'm such a slow reader. So if you are into, an easy flow kind of descriptions, really fast read, like I said, like the dialogue, or the way Isolde wrote the stories, is not overly flowery, or has a lot of, or has a lot of density in it, so it you just kind of breeze through it, which is really nice. And it has great dialogue, it has great action, fun twists, and funny characters. I'm gonna rate this 3.5 out of 5 stars, and definitely gonna check out more from her stuff. I mean, she has potential, definitely, and she has written, I think, another series called the Seventh Hell series, so I'm definitely gonna check out that. And yeah, I think that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this little review. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like what I have going so far. And I hope I'll just see you next time. Bye.